Okay, so in that one we looked at the presynaptic noradrenaline neuron, right, and the drugs that act upon it. So next up is a pug barking outside, and cranky that she's not being let in. And what we'll do this time is we will look at the drugs that act on noradrenaline in the synapse. Okay, so here's our presynaptic neuron. And just imagine that there's lots of postsynaptic neurons here, and this space here is your synapse. So there's where drugs get. So we've got and these vesicles are full of noradrenaline. So here you see vesicles that have moved from the central area to the edges because of a action potential. So they're going to release NA noradrenaline into the synapse. So what happens then? Okay, so it attaches to a receptor on one of these neurons. So like we said in the first lecture, we've got two kinds of receptors. We've got alpha, we've got alpha 1 and 2 receptors, and we've got beta receptors. So there's 1, 2, 3, there's beta 1, beta 2 and beta 3 receptors that will take up noradrenaline in other neurons. Okay, so this one might be an alpha 1 as well. I'm not saying that there is this exact formation anywhere, but you get the idea. Okay, so so what happens after, right, noradrenaline has gone out into the synapse, it has found a receptor, it has bound, it has possibly triggered an action potential in this in this other receptor, and then it releases from the secondary receptor. After it releases, it's kind of thrown back into the synapse, and the brain doesn't like to waste anything. So there's two things that can happen. Firstly, it could be broken down, right? So one of these could be broken down by a number of different endogenous enzymes like MAO, ADH, or COMT. Okay, so they break it down into its constituent parts so that it can be used again, right? So that's about 50% of it. The rest of it is taken back up into the neuron, right? So this is the other 50%, and and reused because it makes sense, right? Now, these channels by which noradrenaline can be taken back up into the neuron, they are a particularly well-known, I suppose, mechanism by which a lot of drugs work. So in noradrenaline we have, okay, so here I'm just going to draw another channel here. We'll say this is another one that is going to, take back up noradrenaline and store it into vesicles. Okay, but the action of some drugs is to block these reuptake channels, right? So there's two things that block this in particular that bring there's other stuff as well. One is tricyclics, antidepressants. Incidentally, this is the same mechanism by which an SSRI will work, but with serotonin. It will block this reuptake channel. In serotonin, it's called SERT, and by doing that, it allows more of the NA to remain in the synaptic cleft for a little longer, right? Now, the thing with drugs is that they won't block all of the channels, right? There's lots of them, but they'll block some. So it will slow down the level of drug breakdown. And what we want when we slow down the level of drug breakdown is for more drug to be available for these secondary receptors to increase whatever it is you need to increase. So like I said, 50% of it is going to get broken down anyway. So the other 50%, we're going to try and stop that. There are, of course, drugs that act on these, but that's another day's lecture. So we've got tricyclic antidepressants, will block noradrenaline, but also cocaine. You want to know how people become such insufferable bores on cocaine? It's because they have far too much noradrenaline and dopamine, because of course the structure is very similar in a dopamine neuron. So cocaine will block this, thus doing approximately the same thing. Now you might think to yourself, wow, cocaine, antidepressants, the same thing. Cocaine will block this at a much higher level than any antidepressants will. Repeat doses or taking high doses of antidepressants will not produce the same pharmacological effects as a high dose of cocaine. So put that one out of reach for now. But cocaine blocks these pretty effectively. Other drugs that work on noradrenaline, such as the non-catecholamines like amphetamine, will push these vesicles towards there and actually push noradrenaline out of the cell and increase noradrenaline levels in that way. So that is drugs in the synapse.